Hey, Doc Cake here today. Today we're going to cover chapters 9 and 10 on pricing and distribution. Let's go over them lately. And maybe more importantly for your assignments, we're going to pick up on the positioning chapter, which I don't think I covered too much, which is chapter 5, particularly towards the end of that chapter. So why don't, and then I'm going to record another video this week, which will cover advertising, integrated marketing communications, and social media, which is chapters 11 through 13. So let's get started with positioning. I apologize if this is a review, but it is very important. So you've defined your target audience, okay, which is very important in terms of demographics or lifestyles or needs or geography or behavior. And now you want to best motivate those people to buy your product and not somebody else's. So that has everything to do with how you position your company or your brand / product. So the authors define positioning as the qualities of how you are how you wish to be perceived, or if you've already established it, how you are perceived. The qualities, how you wish to be perceived, or how you are perceived, so to speak. And it's very important you do this, not only so people understand who you are and what you're about, but you really want this for people inside your company to understand what your brand is about. So everybody, if done correctly, everybody will talk the talk and walk the walk, as I said, in terms of the brand, when they talk to each other, when they develop their programs, and when they talk to people, outside the company. Very important that you do some internal corporate branding. Make sure everybody's on the same page. Secondly, you want to have a good definition as to what your positioning is. So, and usually work with your advertising or communication agencies to figure it out to begin with. But once you figure it out, then the communication people can work off that document, whatever you want to call it, your positioning statement, your brand statement, your creative platform, which is a more extensive type, pieces of information about everything about you in terms of your objectives and your target audience, and plus your what I call the unique selling proposition, or USP, unique selling proposition. I think they talk about that in your book. Whatever positioning you choose, you want it to be, I think the book uses the word succinct. You want it to be short, to the point. And secondly, you don't want to talk about too many things in your positioning statement or as the way you position your brand. You want to stand hopefully for just one thing, and one very strong thing, and repeat that for a number of years, at least to the point that maybe it doesn't make sense anymore to do because of competition, or the market has changed, or you have changed, or whatever. But I've seen too many people try to talk about 5 things, the kitchen sink, as to what their benefits are if you use their brand, particularly in B2B situations. And then, you ask somebody, well, what do they stand for? It's like, I don't know. Or I think it's price. I think we have good people. They're a good company. Well, what do they really stand for? So positioning statement, the book gives you an example as to how to put one together. So I kind of copied that out of the book. And it's important. One way to do it, and I've seen it done a number of different ways, is to, if I can read this backwards, I'll read it off my sheet of paper. For, define your target audience for, men 18 to 34. I can't read this upside down. Men 18 to 34 who want, to buy their own, I'll relate to my motor oil experience, who want to buy their own motor oil and change their own oil Castrol, that's us, the brand, offers this benefit. And the question is, what is that benefit? You have to find the benefit that motivates people to buy your brand. Okay? Now I'll hold that up for a second. I don't know how you can get that all on there. But it is on page 63, as you see there. You want to find it at the top right-hand corner of that page. If you can read that, there you go. I'll leave it up for another few seconds. Okay? So different ways to think about positioning. Now Tracy and Seema talked about it. We spoke about that before, I think. And Porter talks about it in terms of different ways the company can position themselves. And it can be based on, number one, price. It can be based on service, operational excellence, on product leadership, which could be whatever the product leans towards, whether it's technology or something else. Could be customer intimacy. You know, we care about our consumers, we really do. We want to have a good relationship. It's all about that. We want to be a partner, particularly in a B2B type situation. We'll work very closely with you, come up with products and ideas that serve your needs best. And we really care about that relationship. That could be a position, particularly in B2B. But one of them is certainly price. And I know we spoke about this before. There are many companies who use price as their positioning. Walmart is one of them, Costco, and other companies. Everything's about the price. So pricing your product properly is very important for the perception of your product. Higher priced product in specialty store means usually it's a better product than what you can get some other place at a lower price. Because I'm a golfer, I often think golf clubs, right? I go to Walmart, clubs are priced pretty low, they're not very good, okay? And even at a Dick's Sporting Goods, sometimes not very good. I'm trying to think of another outlet where they're not very good. Dick's is kind of a bad example because they do have a few good clubs. But if I want a really good club, I would go to we have a PGA store here. I would definitely go to a PGA store. I would want to go someplace where I can get fitted, for any of you golfers out there. It fits based on how fast I swing the club, how tall I am, how long my arms are, my dress, you know, the whole 9 yards. And it's because it's very important to get fitted properly, to maximize how well you do, how well you score, or minimize your score, so to speak. So low end, lower price, high end, higher price, and you pay for it. But you know, a lot of people do one thing. A lot of companies do everyday low pricing. We spoke about that before. But consumers look at most consumers look at what value am I getting out of this priced product? What's the price benefit? Okay. If I look at your product versus their product, what kind of benefit am I getting? What's the trade-off between the benefit and the price? And we often shop on price. And I know we spoke about this before. Often there are discounts off the regular price. Now, if we aren't a loyal customer, let's back it up. If we are a loyal customer, price may not matter as much, right? We'll pay a little bit extra or the normal price for a brand that we're loyal to. But if we're not loyal, if we'll change around, many times we change around because of price, a temporary price reduction or a TPR, so to speak, is what they say. So how you position your product from a pricing standpoint or using price as a way to position your product is very important, particularly if you're a lower end priced product. But also if you're a premium price product, that connotates quality and a better type of product. As far as setting prices, let's back up. As far as perception of price and what it does give you a cue to quality. Talks about its relative value. I already spoke about that. And depending on what kind of shopper you are, whether you always look for the best deals or try to get the best deals or price from a salesperson, if you get that good price, you're a good shopper. You always look for the best price. I got a good deal. I'm really happy about what I bought today. I'm going to tell all my friends about it, type of thing. I'm sure some of you have thought that way. So there is an emotional type of an appeal to where pricing is and shoppers who really care about that. So setting price is very important. Setting price is very important. There's a number of different ways you can set price. Let me just show you a little chart of pricing. But the approach is, what will the market bear? How much are consumers willing to pay? If you want approach. What is competition charging, right? And what can you price it at and still make a good profit margin? And usually when you're pricing things, and what's your position in the marketplace? If you're a totally new product, you may want to do what we call penetration pricing. You come in at a low price, gain market share, maybe small margin, but you can gain market share, maybe be the lower quality, lower price brand. Or another tactic with a new product, if there's little competition, you can come out at a high price, very high, big profit margin, and skim a lot of profit margin for a while, at least until competition comes in. I always think of the Apple iPod when it first came out. Came out at like $300 for, 8 gigs, 16 gigs, something like that. And I said, no way I'm gonna spend $300 on this thing. But within a year and a half, it came down to 200 and then came down to the $50. Now they were in my price range because they were getting competition. And because they got the initial innovators, the initial people who would buy it at that price, those people that had to have it, wanted to have it. Sometimes in some categories we are like that, other times we aren't. It depends on category, it depends on income at the time, it all depends. But we do want to make money. As a manufacturer, we do want to make money. So let's say that we make a product for $50, okay? We make a product for $50. We sell it to a retailer. Let's say we sell it to a retailer for $100, okay? Question is, what's the profit margin? What's the profit margin, right? It's marked up $50, but that's not the profit margin. Profit margin is taking the $50 and dividing it into the price to the retailer. So in this case, profit margin is 50 into 100, or 50%. That's our profit margin as a manufacturing company, okay? All right, simplistic design. I'm trying to make the numbers easy. More difficult normally. But then, we sell it to the retailer for 100, and they turn around and then sell it, let's say, for $150. So their profit margin. So what is their profit margin? Anybody know? Should I tell you? Maybe we'll have to do a live seminar one of these days. So retailer is making $50. They got it for 100. They're selling for 150. However, to get the profit margin percent, we divide that, excuse the chicken scratcher, into 150, which is how much? 3 50s go into 150, right? So it's 33%, right? 33.33, whatever, 33%, right? But you do an average like retail margin, it's probably about 25%. So they may only charge $1.25. If they charged $1.25, it'd be 25. Yeah, 25 divided by 150. Yeah, that's not 25%. I was saying 100. That's less than 25%. How much is that? I can't do it in my head. 25 divided by 150. That's 16.7% margin. Okay. So a lot of companies start at costs and add margin. They may have a goal of, 50, 60% margin for all products combined on average. Some may go higher, some may go lower, depending on the marketplace and competition and the breadth of the product line. But it's very important to understand this. So what if, something else that I want to cover. What if we don't sell directly to a retailer and we sell to a distributor? Then and then they sell to a retailer. So let's say we sell to the retailer for $1.25. I'm sorry, let's say we sell it to the distributor for $1.25. They want to make money too. They're going to sell it to the retailer for $1.75. The retailer wants to make money. He's going to sell it for more than $2. So if we do it that way, the price may go up a little bit higher, right? Or if people complain, like the retailer complains that the price is too high, then we've either got to squeeze our own margins, reduce our own margins, or reduce the margin to the distributor somehow, if that's possible. So it's a game. I remember one example where when the big box stores came out, small retailers were buying from distributors, and the big box stores came out like Sam's and Costco's. And the little retailers started going to the Sam's, getting the product at a lesser cost than what distributors were selling it to them for. Guess what happened? Distributors got pissed off, upset that now customers were going someplace else to buy their product, and it was directly to a retailer. So adjustments had to be made to the system. Company, we had to take less margin. We maybe push up the price a little bit to the Sam's of the world. But you have to make sure if you're going direct or if you're going through a retailer directly or going through a distributor and a retailer, you have to have different pricing programs. So in the end, the price difference isn't too much when it gets to the ultimate consumer. All right. That leads right into distribution or place, so to speak. And that talks about the multiple tier type distribution system or multi-tier distribution system. You can go direct, go through a distributor, direct to customer, direct to consumer, go through distributor to retailer, or go to retailer and customer, consumer, so to speak. So to get these different people in the system, in the channel system to support you, you have to give them money. You have to work with them very closely. I know I talked about the power of the distributor last time, or the time before that. So understanding them, designing the appropriate channel system is super important. If you don't have one in existence, the best thing to do first is define again who your target audience is and say, where do they shop, right? If they shop at certain retailers, you can go to those retailers directly. Or if those retailers are fed by distributors, you can go to specific distributors that feed into those retailers. You'll define it geographically, and maybe at first, if you have a new product, you don't want to go to everybody. You want to go have what we call less intensive distribution, more selective distribution initially, or if you have a specialty product. But you may not be able to afford to go into every place you want to be at that particular time. But if you're a Hershey Foods, it used to be called Hershey Foods, if you're a Hershey company, that's what they're called now, you have such excellent distribution system set up, you can press the button and you can get in to 75, 90% of the country in a couple of weeks because of your delivery system and your sales process and your order entry system and manufacturing, everything else is set up. But if you're new, you may want to go region by region, market by market, and find the appropriate people, retailers and distributors, and/or distributors, to get the product to your target audience. Okay. So if you do have intensive distribution like Hershey, and I think even Reese's is running I've seen some ads of late about Reese's, which says you can get it here, you can get it there, you can get it everywhere. We're there for you. We love you. You know, it's almost like a positioning statement based on distribution. And it's true. I remember the first time I saw some kind of Hershey's product in a Bed Bath & Beyond. I go, well, this is an unusual place to find candy. But you think about it, you go, target audience. Why not? Go where they are. Now, if you've got a real high-end golf club, an example I used before, then high-end golf specialty shop, like a PGA Tour shop or a fitter shop or a local Joe down the street who has real high-quality clubs, type of thing, versus a Dick's or Walmart or other types of places like that. There's a whole bunch out there. I don't know all the names anymore. So how you do distribution is very important. How you set up that design is very important. How you select the distributors is very important in terms of, do they have a good reputation? Will they pay their bills? Do you have a good chemistry? Will they get your product to retailers quickly? Do they have that system set up? Do they have salespeople themselves or not? Do you need to work with them closely to train them and to go with them on the sales calls? You need to figure all that out. It's important they do have those types of things. And there's something else in the book which I wanted to talk about in terms of the distribution system. Well, let me erase this off my little board. And this is not something us practitioners talk about, but it's a good concept to understand. Well, I think we still talk about it a little bit. Push versus pull. It's important to understand the difference. So, and the book has some good charts that talks about it in the distribution chapter. So push, I usually say it's like pushing your product down to the consumer or to the consumer. You can say down. We're talking about a vertical supply chain system. It's down to the consumer through those distributors, through those retailers, through anybody that's in that channel delivery system, whether it's the transportation people or independent salespeople or brokers or whoever. They're all part of the push mechanism. So in order for them to push it to the retailer to get consumers to buy it, you have to work very closely with them and incentivize them, train them, get them to support you, do their ads and whatnot to attract consumers. So that's push. Just remember, it's kind of push down the vertical system from distributors and or retailers to the end user consumer by giving them incentives. And then second is pull. So what's pull? What do you think pull is? It's pulling. I usually say it's like you're doing things to get consumers, customers to pull it off the shelf or to buy it from you directly. And what types of things are those? temporary price reductions, right? Buy one, get one type things. What else? Advertising, social media. Maybe you're not direct, immediate effect, but brand building through advertising and social media. Public relations, direct marketing, whatever it might be. Motivating people to buy you and nobody else and to pull it off the shelf. That's what we're trying to do all the time. So it's very important to have that positioning statement. It's very important to have your pricing correct. And it's very important to go through the right distributors and have your product available. If your product is not available on the shelf and you don't have a direct web buying system, people are not going to find it. And they're not going to buy it. Simple as that. That being said, I'm going to sign off for now. And I'll be back to you with another episode of Doc Cake, talking about IMC, integrated marketing communications, social media, and I'll talk more about positioning, more importantly, how to execute advertising, different ways you can execute advertising. Think about it for next time. What is the most popular way that advertising is done? What is the most popular way? See if you can come up with that answer. Think about Super Bowls. You'll probably come up with the answer. On that note, I will sign off. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you very soon again. Take care.